Wow, here we are again, Brother Peter, the tidbits from the Word. We're going to look at Psalm 8. And, O Lord, our Lord, comma, with a exclamation point on O Lord, with a capital L, the Lord of the earth, the Lord of heaven and the earth, the Lord that came down and walked in the flesh, Jesus Christ, the one that was with God when God spoke. The words came out of the mouth of Jesus Christ and said, let us make this earth. Let us put a people on this earth. And they were together, God and Jesus. How excellent is thy name in all the earth, who has set the glory above heaven. Wow. Out of thy mouth of babes and sucklings hast thou ordained strength because of thine enemies, that thou mightest still the enemy and avenge. Matthew 21:16. When I consider thy heavens, thy works of thy fingers, the moon, man, and the stars that thou hast ordained. In Psalm 89 and verse 11. Psalm 89 and verse 11. Let's take a look at that for a second. 89 and verse 11. The heavens are thine, and the earth also is thine, also for the world, and the fullness thereof, thou hast founded it. Wow. God is the one that founded it. If you please, let's use that word, found, like the guy that makes the iron and melts the iron in a foundry and hammers out a horseshoe and hammers out something. Well, this is what God did when he spoke this earth into existence. And he made that moon and flung it out there. And it said, stay where you are and do not move until I command you to. One day, the moon will flee. One day, things are going to happen that way. And he said, consider thy heavens, the work of thy fingers, the moon, the stars which hath ordained. What is man that thou art mindful of him, and the Son of Man that thou visiteth him? Wow. Let's flip over to 144 a minute and look at verse 3 and in the Psalms as we're looking. 144 and verse 3. Lord, what is man that thou takest knowledge of him, or the Son of Man that thou makest account of him? Wow. We become God's sons when we say, Jesus, I am a sinner. Forgive me of my sin. Come in my heart and save my soul. And then God is interested in us. He's interested in us before. But he can't connect with us because we're in another wavelength. When you're in the devil's kingdom, you're in another wavelength. But when you say, God, I am a sinner, forgive me, then you become in God's length. And for thou hast made him a little lower than the angels, and hast crowned him with glory and honor. Let's take a look at Psalm 82 and 6 and see what that says. 82 and 6. And pages stick together sometime. And do you know how to go through the Bible? 82 and verse 6. I have said, ye are gods, and all of you are children of the Most High. We are small gods, little g. This is little g. God has made us in the realm that he has put us in to be little gods, to carry the word of the big God, the God of heaven, out here. And so in the area where we live, we are to be as little gods, carrying the word of the Master God, the God of heaven, big G, capital G. What is man, that thou art mindful of him, and the Son of Man, that thou visited him? For thou hast made him a little lower than the angels, and hast crowned him with glory and honor. I love the fact, he says here, that man has been made, has crowned him with glory, and has made him a little lower than the angels. This means that we are earthly. Otherwise, the angels are higher above. On the other hand, the angels fly in the realm of God, up there where he is, and we're down here on the earth. I wanted to go to the book of Genesis, chapter 1, and verse 26, and take a look right here at what that says. Verse 26 in chapter 1. And it says right here, and God said, wow, when God said, this is something, let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the fowls of the air, over the cattle, over the earth, all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. God and his son Jesus, they were talking in heaven. And he said, let us, do you notice that? Make man in our image. Our image? How did he do that? The Son came in the flesh later on. And that's what started the New Testament. The Son came in the flesh. And God stayed in heaven as he is. No man can look on God at any time and live, he says. He is pure light. Pure light. You cannot look at pure light. I am, at the age of 78, I am in a place where I can't, headlights blind me. And nowadays, people have headlights that are eye-piercing. They pierce your eye and you can't see. They give you a blind spot. It makes it hard to drive at night. When I consider the heavens, the work of thy fingers. Wow. God made the moon with his fingers. He has fingers you and I can't imagine. He has fingers you and I can't imagine. Wow. He ordained the strength. He said, out of the mouth of babes and sucklings hast thou ordained strength, because of thine enemies thou hast manifest still the enemy and the avenger. Let's get back up where we need to be. The defense of God, which saveth the upright in heart. God judgeth the righteous, and God is angry with the wicked every day. If he turn not, he will W-H-E-T, whet his sword, whet it. He has bent his bow and made it ready. Wow. That's in Deuteronomy 32 and 41. Deuteronomy 32 and 41. This Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. And in Deuteronomy here, 32 and 41. Let's take a look at that. Right here in this Bible. 32 and 41. Wow. Oh man, the writing in here is something else. If I whet my glittering sword, and mine hand take hold on judgment. I will render vengeance to mine enemy, and will reward them that hate me. Do you know what my picture is? Let me tell you what my picture is today. The great sword of God coming down from heaven and just sweeping across that island. What is keeping God from sweeping across where you and I stand? Are we close enough to God? Do we have enough to that the Lord, when He returns, He'll deliver our soul and save us for mercy's sake? In Psalm 9, for in death there is no remembrance of thee. In the grave, who shall give thee thanks? I am weary with my groaning. All the night make I my bed to swim. I water my couch with my tears. Mine eyes is consumed because of grief, waxed old because of mine enemies. Depart from me, all you workers of iniquity. From the Lord hath heard the voice of my weeping, and the Lord hath heard my supplication. The Lord will receive my prayer. Let all mine enemies be ashamed and so vexed. Let them return and be ashamed. Wow. Over in the New Testament, chapter 25 and 41, all the way over into Matthew in the New Testament. We go Matthew, the New Testament goes Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, and it has all of the books in order. And as you study, you can look at those and see. Matthew 25, 41. 25 and 41. And we see this statement in red writing. Jesus speaking here. Then shall he say also unto them on the left hand, depart from me, ye cursed, into everlasting fire. F-I-R-E. Fire. Whoa. Everlasting, too. Everlasting fire. Prepared for the devil and his angels. Whoa, when you get there, if you die and go to hell because you've never said, Jesus, forgive me of my sin, come in my heart and save my soul. When you get there, you're going to be with the devil and his angels. And there's no mercy. I know this picture we see of a devil with a forked tail and a pitchfork is not a real thing, but that is, you just think of being in fire and have that devil coming along with a pitchfork, sticking you with it. He said, I was a-hungered, and you gave me meat. I was thirsty, and you gave me. I was a-hungry, and you gave me no meat. That means no word from God, no food, no nothing. And you didn't give it to me. I was thirsty, and you didn't give me a drink. I was a stranger, and you took me not in. I was naked, and you clothed me not. I was sick and in prison, and you visited me not. Then shall also answer him, saying, Lord, when did we see thee in anguish, or athirst, or a stranger, or naked, or sick, or in prison? Do not minister unto thee. Then shall he answer them and say, Verily I say unto you, insomuch as you did it not to one of the least of these, you did it not to me. And these shall go away in everlasting punishment, but the righteous unto eternal life. I witnessed yesterday a young lady pulled up at the church where I was working. And she had gone out in the morning, and right around dinner time, with a trunk load of sandwiches and things, and there's a certain place in every town where you'll have a gathering of people who have been rooted out there and a little homeless. And she witnessed to several of them, and one person asked the Lord to save them yesterday. Now this girl, some 7-8 years ago, was in that condition. And the Lord used me to go over there and to feed and help that family. The man and his wife and 3 kids. And did. And now here it is 7 years later, and they're doing the same thing. They're over there helping. They're over there doing. That's passing on what you have. If you pass on what you have, what you are, pass on what you are. And look, oh man, the judgment of this nation will take place one day. And when it does, the Son of Man shall come in his glory. He will appear in his glory above the earth. Then shall he sit upon his throne in his glory. And the great white throne is not called the throne of glory, but it is the great throne that is of judgment. The judgment, he will judge the living nations. And at that white great throne judgment, he will judge the wicked dead even. Those that had died and are in the grave, and they were wicked. They died without Christ. He is going to raise all of them before him and judge them individually. It's going to be like lumber coming off a sawmill log. It's going to be quick. This is you. This is what you did. You're gone. You're in hell forever in torment. You're in a certain place now, a new part of hell. A part of hell that is 150% eternal forever. Where you are now, you're in a place, the abode and the abyss of those that died in sin are in hell fire. But they're not in that place, eternal hell, where it's going to be, because God's going to call them up one day and judge them, and then they will be cast into the eternal abyss, the eternal hell, forever, where they'll be tormented day and night with no sleep, forever tormented day and night. This judgment, there will be no resurrection of the dead after that. At the great white throne, all the wicked dead are raised, and the sea gave up the dead, and death and hell delivered up the dead which were in them. So all those that have died in the sea that were not saved, their souls are there today. The part of man that does not die, that lives forever, is the soul. And that soul that is in hell, and that soul that is alive in hell, it does not die. It is one of 2 places. It is either in heaven with God, or it is in hell with the devil, being tormented even now. At the judgment, the judge that God, the King, judging the living nations, his earthly kingdom, at the great white throne. The judgment of God, judging only the wicked dead at this judgment. This is the judgment of the wicked dead, and only the wicked dead. Has nothing to do at all with those who are saved. If you've been saved, you will not come under this condemnation. You will not be there. If you think the anguish that you can feel upon this earth is something, you wait until you get in hell. You'll find out there is no anguish on this earth to even begin to touch the anguish that will be in hell forever. And it will be a forever lost. Have you ever been really, really forlorn? I have in my life. I've been to the place before where I sat with a pistol right here, cocked. A couple of 3 times in my life I sat like that before I got Jesus in my heart. The devil wanted me to pull that trigger, and then he would have had me forever. And God wanted me to lay the pistol down and call on him. And I did. I'll never forget the last time I ever did that. I was a Christian and had been beat out of so much money and was in such a bad shape that I had that pistol. I had no choice. I mean, if something didn't happen in the next couple of days, I was destitute. For owed men money, owed money for bills, owed paint, owed everything, and the guy gave me a bad check, and I was forlorn. But God brought me through that. Now, even a Christian sometimes gets in a bad mode. At the same time I was doing this, God directed my path directly to a place where I got a job that took care of all my bills and everything. I took on another foe after that, though, called the United States government. I paid all my bills with all the money that I made on that job, and I came home with nothing. And the government wanted me to pay tax on what I paid my bills. When I paid my bills, I felt like I paid my tax. I thought that even until today. They take money out of my check today. When I get my check and it comes in, they take money out of it every month. Out of me, and they still treat me like I was a criminal, and I wasn't. I was a human being living on this earth, trying to do what God would have me do, and I feel real bad. But I think many of the higher officials in our government are people who are going to die and go to hell because they will not put Jesus in their heart. They will not treat other people fair. They will not treat the people of this country fair because they have it all made and they don't have any problems. So therefore, that's the way they do it. Listen, there's a special place for those in hell. And this judgment, the judge God, the King, judging the living nation and his earthly kingdom at the great white throne judgment, is God judging the wicked dead. And then the judgment, the books open, and the great white throne, and the books were open. At the judgment, there are 3 classes judged. Those that sleep, those that are in a certain place in hell, those that are saved, and the goats. And that is the unsaved. In Thessalonians, it talks about it. The elect of Israel. This is a different group of people. The people in Israel will be judged by God in a different manner than we are judged here. We're not Israelites. And so there is a lot of things about judgments in the Bible. I have a Bible right here in front of me that lists 7 different types of judgment that are cast into the lake of fire. And if we wanted to look at more, we would go to Revelation chapter 20 and 11 through 15. Our time has come and gone. Revelation 20, and let's take a look right quick. And we're going to be a few minutes over. 11 through 15. Let's take a look at this. Verse 11. Judgment of the wicked. And I saw a great white throne, and him that sat on it, from whose face the earth and heavens fled away, and were found no place for them. And I saw the dead, small and great, stand before God, and the books were open. And another book was opened, which was the book of life. And the dead were judged out of those things which were written in the books, according to their works. And the sea gave up the dead which were in it, and death and hell gave up the dead which were in them. And they were judged, every man according to their works. And death and hell were cast into the lake of fire. This is the second death. And whosoever was not found written in the book of life was cast into the lake of fire. So you die one time on this earth if you go to hell. And while you're in that abode, in that fire, you're waiting on your judgment. And every single solitary word you ever said, every deed you ever did, every beer you ever drank, every cigarette you ever smoked, everything that is opposite from God is against you, is all going to be piled on you, and you're going to be cast in hell and wandered in fire and torment of all that you ever did in your life. Nothing's ever been erased. It's all right here. And what's called the frontal lobe of the mind has every single thing. A man can hypnotize you and say, what is the first thing that you remember? And the first thing you're going to remember is that you were in a river, that you was in a flood. And you came out in a flood. That was when you were born from your mother's womb, that you came out with water and blood. You can remember that. A person can remember every single solitary thing can be brought back that he ever did in his total life. Be careful of idle words. Be careful of things that you say and do. When we get to heaven, we're going to be judged for those things that we did that were godly. Everything that's not godly will be wiped away, and only what's godly we will have when we stand before God. If you have a godly life, when you stand before God, you'll be in a different position than somebody who does not have a godly life. You're going to be on the level in heaven that you're on in the earth for that. And so we've really gone over on our time. When the Son of Man shall come in His glory, and all His holy angels with Him, then shall He sit upon the throne of His glory, and before Him shall He gather all nations, and He shall separate them one from another, as the shepherd divided his sheep from the goats. And He shall set the sheep on His right hand, and the goats on His left. Then shall the King say unto them on His right hand, Come ye, blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. This is red writing. This is Jesus in Matthew 25 and 35. I was a hunger, and you gave me meat. I was thirsty, and you gave me drink. I was a stranger, and you took me in. Naked, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you visited me. I was in prison, and you came unto me. Then shall the righteous answer Him, saying, Lord, when saw we thee, and fed thee, or thirsty, and gave thee drink? When saw we a stranger, and looked in, or naked, and clothed thee? Or when saw we thee sick, and in prison, and came unto thee? And the King shall answer and say unto them, Verily I say unto you, insomuch as ye have done it unto one of the least of these my brethren, have ye done it unto me. Then shall He say also unto them on the left hand, Depart from me, ye cursed, into everlasting fire, prepared for the devil and his angels. For I was a hungered, and you gave me no meat. I was thirsty, and you gave me no drink. I was a stranger, and you took me not in. I was naked, and you clothed me not. And I was in prison, and you visited me not. Then they shall all answer Him, saying, a hungered and thirst, or naked, or sick, or in prison, did you not minister unto me? Then shall He answer them, saying, Verily I say unto you, insomuch as ye did it not to one of the least of these, ye did it not to me. And these shall go away unto everlasting punishment, but the righteous into eternal life. God spoke to me through this message. I have a good Christian friend who has made some errors, and he's in prison, and I haven't visited him. Through hardness of my heart, God said, you need to go visit him. I will make that a point next week to do that. Well, We'll see you next time. We've hit the 30-minute mark, which is what I usually try not to do. I try to stay half of that. But God has weighed on me this morning, and I put out what He has given me to put out. We'll see you next time, right? Bye-bye.